I must say though, like, it must have taken you a real long time to collect all this.
The wall scrolls, I just was like, went on Amazon and was just like find wall scrolls and bought them. They're like really low quality wall scrolls and stuff like that.
I don't recognize the artist for like a lot of these.
Yeah.
But this one, and the jury one's pretty good. Yeah, that's jury.
Oh, the jury and the dolls one came from Connecticut. Those are recent ones they did.
Yeah.
But all these figures and stuff for that, I just collected on my own because I just like collecting fighting game figures. So.
Well, like back in the day, like when I last came here, the Morgan and the Cammy, those have been here for a while.
Yeah,
right?
those two have been there, and so has the Felicia.
You mean like last decade when
like,
you came here?
Like, when was Evo West?
That was definitely last decade.
That time? Oh, that long ago? No, the Morgan and Cammy didn't exist at those times.
Okay. No, it was like on your table or something. Like your.
There was a different Cammy, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
How dare I?
Yeah, exactly. Get your facts straight. Oh, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna be just super casual. We just talk about you guys. We don't have to talk about mainly just FGC stuff, which I feel a lot of people. Where's the camera right there? We don't have to just mainly talk about FGC stuff. We can talk about whatever.
All right.
That's the Kim style, you know.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah. It's very similar to.
I tried
CBS.
Totino's earlier today.
Oh.
I tried Totino's for the first time last night.
Do you have any here?
I don't have any here.
No.
Do you have any here?
I don't have any here. The bag
Sorry.
I bought was.
Are those just like mini pizza pockets? Basically?
Yeah. So they're like that big, maybe, and they're kind of tough on the outside, and on the inside is like some cheese that like threatens to escape, but it's not very.
It's
tasty.
all by design, right?
yeah. And I took a bite, and I was like, this is not very good, and then I thought about it, and I took another bite, but I realized that in between those two bites, I had already eaten 6 other Totinos. I made this whole plate for myself, and I looked down and I was like,
they're all
what
gone.
happened to the Totino?
Sure, the dog didn't get them or something.
Yeah. So they're not good, but you want to eat them. So that's my experience with Totino so far.
I mean, that's what a good snack does, right? So.
I mean, it should be tasty, like, ideally.
The concept is difficult. Yeah.
Well, you've just killed our potential Totino sponsors. Thanks, David. Man, I worked so hard to set that to get that Totino spot. No, I was kidding.
Yeah.
That totally felt like a last minute sponsor. Was it not?
I don't know.
It was a Twitch partnership thing, I think. So I think they were just working with Twitch because it wasn't even FGC. It was a bunch of different Twitch things that had the Totinos tie in with them. So.
Oh, it wasn't Capcom?
I don't think so, because I'm pretty sure that they had videos for like some of the other gaming tournaments and such.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I kind of remember seeing. I think it was it like Anna Prosser or something like that?
Okay.
Do a Totino's video or something like that. I can't remember now.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
The chick sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I mean,
that's all I remember. Chick sitting in a chair.
It's not very effective at marketing.
Great details there, kid.
But she was blonde. Or was she not blonde?
I don't think she's blonde.
I don't think she is blonde.
Just my
Pretty sure
just
she
my
has
wishes
brown
coming
hair,
out.
but I'm not sure. I don't really know.
That's so important, that clap.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It's super important.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why?
That's
because
why
because when you sync up like the video and it has all like the sound waves and stuff, you can tell like this long ass line is where you need to match it up.
Okay, I like it.
If you want to know why they have those clapboards in movies, that's why they have the
But
clapboard.
how come they just don't have me there, just doing this? I just screwed it up.
I mean, because then they can also write the scene number and all that stuff.
You can write it on this guy.
Yeah,
Come
it's
on,
true.
look
It's true.
at all this real estate here.
Real estate.
Man.
Is that a common public joke? You know, the whole real estate thing.
Oh man.
How do you guys feel about Ultra dying?
You know my thoughts on Ultra. My thoughts on Ultra are that I really enjoyed it for a long time. On Street Fighter 4, not just Ultra.
Yeah.
I enjoyed SF4 for a long time. And to be honest, it's probably the game that I've put the most time into of any game. Even though I prefer other games, that's like an absolute sense. It's definitely the one that I put the most time into. And I liked the game for a long time. But, man, I'm super ready for it to die.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so personally, I've come from being a player of the game. I mean, to be completely honest, like the middle of the Pro Tour last year, I
Mm-hmm.
pretty much like gave up on the game. I was like,
Okay.
this is too silly. Like
No,
how much smarter do I
yeah.
need to be than the player? Because I play Bison, right? I have to play like
Mhm,
perfectly the entire time. One overhit with Elena could be
Yeah.
game over.
Mhm.
So like, but I enjoy being a spectator of this game
Okay.
way more than being a player.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it hasn't been like that for other games actually, but Street Fighter 4 somehow it's very fun to watch. It's very fun to watch.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. I mean, there's a reason why I feel like a lot of people got so hyped for the game all the time in all the different situations. So,
Yeah.
I do want to say though that I feel like we share a common bond, that we whine
Asians.
about our character like beyond logic.
What do you think about the Europeans thinking that character is super good?
Oh, I blow them up any chance I get, man. Those guys hate Bison.
I know.
It must be like some weird mental block, because it's like
Because the way you talk about Bison, the way you complain, not even just that you complain about,
My
but
style.
the way you complain about him sounds a lot like how I complained about Cammy back in the day.
I don't know if I should be proud of this or not.
You shouldn't.
I don't know. Yeah.
You shouldn't.
I don't think that's a compliment.
It's
Yeah.
not a compliment. This is definitely a diss.
Well, okay, so I have a lot of like theories on why like people hate Bison.
Okay.
And I have a lot of theories why Bison will always be like looked at as like, we need to balance this guy. We need to make sure that he's not the best in any game that he's in, because he was the boss character of Street Fighter 2.
Mm-hmm.
And in Street Fighter 2, you know, like he's gonna start crushing back and forth, like Infinite Championship Edition Bison.
Edition,
So
oh,
people
yeah.
like
Oh,
have
yeah,
that
yeah,
ingrained
yeah.
in their mind. So that he's the boss character, so therefore like they know that he's the first boss. The next couple of versions, let's not make him that good anymore. Like, you know, but for some reason Akuma doesn't get that treatment, right?
Dude, Akuma's good. In
Akuma's the
everything
best
he
character
is.
like in every
Because he
game.
has every tool. Like, you have to nerf him substantially.
And then give him something else.
Yeah, I know,
that we
right?
don't test.
You're
Dude,
right.
he
Let's
is-
not test it though.
Yeah,
Does
yeah.
this mean he's gonna dominate Tekken 7? You think? You think he's just gonna blow everybody up?
Like, at least in that game engine, like in that game engine, his tools are like maybe not as dominant, but in a 2D fighter, to have uppercut, fireball, air fireball,
Teleport.
teleport. Like, if you just, regardless of what your normals look like,
Uh-huh.
you're gonna be pretty effective.
So they're gonna be like,
Just-
oh,
you're
you
gonna
can
be.
sidestep Akuma's fireball, which means he's nerfed. So let's give him the fireball spread, where he just shoots fireballs across the whole.
Is that real?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I just feel like that's what's gonna happen.
After
so.
this video, it's gonna be real though.
I know, right?
Yeah, right.
Ono's gonna pressure Harada. He's like, you better put in the spread fireball.
Make the game balance.
So I feel kind of bad for Street Fighter 4 players, people who started on the game and who think that it's, you know, whose favorite game it is, because the game definitely is going to fall off to at least some degree. I don't know if it's going to die. I hope it doesn't die, just in the same sense that like I hope that no games die. That always sucks. That's happened to me before. It's happened to you. It sucks. So I feel for them on that, but at the same time, I'm really ready for a new game to be like King of the Hill. I really am.
I don't think that like when a new game comes that you have to like sabotage your own game.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not. This is really hard because Street Fighter 4 opened up like a lot of avenues for because that was like the first game for like esports in the fighting
Right.
community, right? So like being so like outspoken about like we're gonna focus all on Street Fighter 5 could work, it could not work or whatever, but why, in my opinion, why be so outspoken about it? Because I think just like Third Strike players, those guys were only good at Third Strike. There's a chance that there's a lot of Street Fighter 4 players that they're just good at Street Fighter 4 for whatever reason, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And like I think the way Street Fighter 5 designed, just is all how I think. Like, it's so like every tendency you learn from 6 years of playing Street Fighter 4 can get blown up. Like like crouch tech, counter hit, counter hit, right?
Backdash,
counter hit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uppercut, counter hit.
Street Fighter 4 was like, what do I do? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, I am excited that a new game is coming out because, you know, we have been playing Street Fighter 4 for a very long time. But I still remember when Marvel 3 first came out, like, a bunch of MVC2 players like, well, time to drop MVC2, learn this new game. And I was like, why? Like, we still play ST. You know, you guys still play Third Strike. You try to play CVS2 whenever you can and such. There's no reason to drop those old games. So I'm actually sad a lot of the MVC2 players stopped. So I hope that kind of mentality, you know, does stick with a lot of the Street Fighter 4 players and they do keep playing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I will tell you this. I talked with Sanford at NEC, and he told me that the game he plays most is Marvel 2.
Yeah.
The scene's back. Like, I was like, how's the scene in New York? And he was like, it's big. that people are playing it again. So I don't know if that's gonna happen again, because at this point, Street Fighter 4 players see that there's still ST Third Strike scenes. They see that there's a Marvel 2 scene again. Like, I don't know if they're going to abandon it in the same sort of way.
Yeah,
I
hope
don't
they
think
don't.
really
It doesn't make sense to do that.
Yeah,
at all,
I agree.
So.
I agree.
Yeah.
But as for Capcom, I feel like they're doing it because they're worried about the cross-Tekken effect of like having 2 games out at the same time. Because like when cross-Tekken came out, obviously it had other problems, but part of the problem was that Street Fighter 4 was still big and being supported, including by Capcom, and that was like a sign to people, like, you don't have to play cross-Tekken. If you don't like it, you can stick with 4. People did.
That's a good point, yeah.
So I feel like they just want to avoid that situation.
Yeah, and you know, obviously they want to get as many people to transition over to Street Fighter 5 as possible, right?
It's a business.
Right? Yeah, it's a business. So
trying to sell that game.
Well, I mean, like Street Fighter is like pretty fortunate in the fact that the name is like it's big. So anyone that has ever touched the joystick will give it a chance.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting thing too, is because a lot of old school players are coming back into it. Like you saw, Graham Wolf is like.
Dude, I went to some like, I don't know what it's called. It's not the Pandora House, but it's another like fighting game house in Milpitas. I don't know if they have a name. Like Julio's in there and stuff like that.
Right.
Kelvin. And I didn't expect to see Graham Wolf in there. It was like so random.
Yeah.
I was like, what's up, got Graham Wolf? I've always been curious on what like how does the preparation process go for commentary? Have you guys talked about this? I'm sure you have, huh?
Not too often, I don't think. I don't think people ask us this question that much.
Yeah, actually, that's pretty rare.
Because to be honest with you, like, preparation is just like walk into the venue and sit down.
It depends on how big the event is.
Yeah,
Because if it's something smaller, we'll basically do that. We'll show up. For Capcom Cup, I tried to get a lot of info on players. Like I was talking with you about a couple of them. Right? Trying to get backstories and...
Yeah, but there's like a lot of major
things to talk about. Yeah, but usually we don't do that. Usually we don't do that. Yeah. Typically we'll just show up. When it comes to maybe like finals day, once we know who's going to be in the top 8 or top 16 or something, maybe then we'll do a little bit more research and try to have something to say, or like look into how the brackets went. Or
do you go to like the local guy in the scene to like get
for sure?
information?
If there's players we don't know, for sure.
I mean, one of the cool things, honestly, though, is because of Capcom Pro Tour, like, we're commentating at least once a month. You know, so it kind of sustains itself. You know what I mean? Sure. You always remember what happened at that last event, and you can talk about it there. And, you know, I mean, dude, how many times have we seen, like, Bonchan and these guys play now? And then every time we did 2 years in a row of those World Warriors of Capcom Cup where, you know, we're like, Bonchan is really good at reads.
No, but you know, like, okay, so sorry to cut you off, but like, I feel that it should be like the player's responsibility, the player themselves, to kind of like put themselves out there a little bit more. I mean, if the player is like very in tune with how the FGC can grow, which is a lot of players really aren't, to be honest, but, you know, like, also, it's our responsibility to like go up to them and ask them like more original questions, not just. I mean,
I hear you. One of the things that I do to sort of prep, you know, I will just talk with a lot of players in casual conversation.
Yeah.
And it's not even like I'm trying to sneak information. I'm literally just talking to them, just because it's just fun to talk to all the fighting game players. Yeah. And every time they say stuff, I then talk about it a lot of the times on stream. Like, I remember at Canada Cup, I talked with Ryan Hart for this really long period of time, and a bunch of stuff he said, I was like, oh, I'll just talk about this on stream because, you know, it's good information.
Sure,
you know?
I do the same thing.
Yeah, so I mean, that's probably the you know, most research that I'll do is a lot of times I'll just talk to players and see how they feel that weekend and kind of, you know, not grill them, but just like try to dig in.
Tell me something now.
I know, right?
Give me something, okay?
Just dig into how they're feeling and what their thoughts are in the current situation and such. Like, the one thing I asked Ryan Hart at Canada was, you know, with all of Bonchan's success, is that what kind of helped inspire him to stick with Sagat? Because you remember how much he was like, this character sucks now, like, I can't use this character anymore for the longest of time. Then towards the end of the year, that's all he was playing. So, you know, I talked to him about that, and he was like, yeah, for sure, Bonchan helps me, you know, keeps me, you know, happy about, I mean, like, it makes me believe that he can win all these tournaments and stuff like that, so.
Yeah. I would like to do more research, but it's typically not very practical because I don't know who's going to go to every tournament. And like we'll hear through the grapevine that maybe like X or Y player is going to come, and then maybe if they are, I'll look into something for them. But typically we just find out who's there like the day of. I would love to know what the pools are like 3-4 days in advance, and then be like, all right, here's the interesting matches on all potential pools.
Maybe it could be just like a new standard, like to set the standard.
But that info is just not there.
Yeah,
it's just not available.
So tournament organizers could now realize that.
But see, the thing about it is a lot of them do on-site registration. So the one event that we definitely do that for is Evo, because there's no, there's basically no on-site registration. So we have the pools. We've already mapped out who's in every pool and who to watch in all the pools.
Do most top players, not most, but do some top players not sign up on time, and therefore they sign up, the day of?
Some definitely do that. Yeah,
for a lot of events.
Like a lot of majors are like that.
But not international players though, right?
Typically not, but there have been some times when like all of a sudden Reinhardt's there, or like all of a sudden Shen is there. That definitely has happened. It's not as common though, for sure. But for the people who are, for the other international players, I just don't know that they're there, that they're going to be there. I would love to know. It's
funny because there's sometimes you'll hear us on commentary when we're starting the day and just kind of talking, and before the first match is on, I'll be like, oh hey, look, we see this person walking in the audience, whatever, and it sounds like Phil. No, it's literally that's the first time I saw them there that weekend, and I'm like, oh dude, K-Brad's here. Oh, this person showed up. So yeah,
I think there's a lot of stuff that could be improved if we were able to do more research. I just think commentary could be better, and we would be able to fill time better. And
I mean, the more information you guys have,
I mean, one of the hard things is, I definitely shout outs to One Frame Link. Like, he's been trying to help us with stats a lot during commentary. So he'll have all these great information sheets and all these like interactive like things that we can use to be like, oh hey, look, these two guys' record are against each other. The problem is we're always watching matches and talking, so it's really hard for us to go and do the research and look for that.
If you were to like highlight some stuff, you might be able to use it or might not,
If there was like an earpiece in our ear that was like, hey, PS, whatever, here's some info, that's not practical, right? It's like hard to expect that.
I mean, the way that, traditional sports, A sports, as I call them, athletic sports, right? So
A sports.
Terrible.
James Chen.
Whenever they just have stat runners, right? They just go and hand them sheets of paper, like, here's stats. It's somebody else's job to come up with the interesting tidbit, for the commentators, because they it's hard to do two things at once. And sometimes when you hear us commentate, like, one of us will go silent for this long chunk of time, and it's because we're looking up frame data on our phone or something like that. So
at Capcom Cup, I wanted to have all of this stuff there, like all the things that I asked you about players, and I talked with many other people and many of the players themselves, and I got all this info, and I had like extensive notes.
How can you remember all of it?
No, I couldn't though. So I needed to have my computer with me, where I had everything written out. But the way that Capcom Cup was set out, we couldn't bring the tablet onto the stage.
How dare you?
They just wouldn't. It was like not part of it. So the stage manager wouldn't have it. So I had to remember some stuff, and unfortunately, I forgot a bunch of things. Like when a couple of players came up, I just didn't say that much about them, and it wasn't that like I didn't want to. It's just I couldn't remember, or if it was like when it was like Justin versus Tompi. Okay. And I've known Justin for a long time, and I can talk about him for a long time. Tompi, I don't know very well, so I have like these notes that I have prepared that I wanted to say things about from, but they're backstage, so I couldn't do that. So that definitely could have been better. You can bring your phone, right? I'm just... No, our phones had to be off.
Yeah, our phones are off.
Wow.
And that's the worst part about it too, is because
because
like David said, we know Justin, right? And so we get a lot of comments like, you guys are totally biased to Justin because it's all you talked about ahead of time. I would have loved to have talked about Tonpi, right? But we didn't have all of our information, and we just don't know him as well. So
yeah, I mean, that's really interesting. I'm sure a lot of people haven't even thought about that before. I expect you guys to be walking encyclopedias and everything.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately it's a hobby, and it's not my job,
Right.
Like, I mean, well, to be fair, it's a job, but it's not my main job. So it's hard to spend all the time to study up and remember everything about players when, I have like stuff to do. So It definitely could improve.
But I mean, even again, if we go talk about traditional sports, right? They literally have booklets on every player, like pronunciation guides, background, what college they were in, and everything like that. Because I remember that there was a Chinese player who ended up on the Lakers, and they kept pronouncing his name wrong. And I actually wrote a letter to the LA Times guy, talking about it, and he actually said that's literally how they tell you to pronounce it in the pronunciation guide that they give every commentator.
They just got it wrong.
Yeah, they just. I mean, it's kind of like I forgot there was another player that did that in the FGC that I just feel like everyone just mispronounces the name, but whatever, because it's just easier that way for people to say. And
I still don't know how to pronounce Xian's name.
I asked Xian, actually. He said Xian.
Xian?
I always called him Xian
Yeah.
because that's how you pronounce it from a Pinyin Chinese translation, but he told me it's Xian. So now I'm trying to be better about it and call him Xian. So, but yeah, I mean...
Nemo, at least we're not saying
Nemo.
Mago and
Nemo.
It's Nemo, right?
It's Nemo.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just the thing, right? A lot of times... Even the professional commentators for sports, they don't have to memorize all that stuff. That information is all given to them. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, he played this many years at this college and he did all this stuff.
I mean, honestly, that's not something that we can expect.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So,
but at the same time,
I still think that we have to get better.
Oh yeah.
Even though we can't expect that kind of stuff, but
I mean, I guess the point is that a lot of people expect that kind of stuff from commentators to know everybody, but even in professional, they don't. You know what I mean? It sounds that way. You get all this help from a lot of other people, and so it's hard for us to be at that level because we literally have to. And that's why I end up, because I try, and for a long time I would say false information constantly. I'm like, oh, I think this player's from blah, and people are texting, like
now
tweeting
everyone
me
knows
like,
it's by design.
Yeah. So I mean, it was because I'm like trying to remember the best that I can, and I just remember wrong, right? And so nowadays I don't say it as much. I don't say a lot of things, or if I do, I'm always like, I think he's from blah, but I'm not sure. Twitter, let me know, that kind of situation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if this is a good analogy or not, but it's like for example, Street Fighter 5. Like Capcom makes the game, right? And then people criticize the game because it's easy to do that. I mean, they're not making the game, right? So you guys are commentating, and like no one's gonna say that job's easy, especially if they've tried it. So I mean, when I do commentary, I'll make mistakes too, and for sure someone's gonna point it out immediately. Like how dare you be incorrect about something? People need to be a little bit more understanding about that.
It's also the tough part is we literally commentate for whole days.
Yeah.
Like it's fun. I read an article that was talking about esports commentators and saying that these guys are commentating longer than most traditional sports commentators.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
It's like for a whole weekend long and such like that. So during the course of that weekend, dude, you're going to say like 50 things that are incorrect. You can't help it. 1, you're tired. 2, you get fatigued. And 3, it's just hard to remember everything. So I'm not trying to make excuses, for my mistakes or anything like that. I shouldn't be making those mistakes.
Yeah.
But, that's why, like I said, I've taken that to note. A lot of people are like, James, you're always wrong. You're always wrong about all this information. So nowadays, I do ask people on Twitter, like, can you give me this information? I want to make sure, or I'm always like, I think it's this, but I could be wrong.
Do you have like Okay, so there is this Sakura player in Japan, and he like really loves your commentary. He also speaks English.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's weird how there's like he went to some it's a Michigan-based college in Japan. Random. Yeah.
Like Michigan?
Like University of Michigan?
I don't know, something to do with Michigan, and it's in Tokyo.
That's weird.
And he goes there. And that's how you learn English. Anyway, yeah, he loves your commentary.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if you hear that enough, but you should, because it's easy to hear the hate all the time.
Yeah.
Definitely, when we do a good job, let me put it like this: when we do a bad job, we always hear about it, and when we do a good job, we rarely hear about it.
Well, I mean...
So I feel like it typically falls on us or people who we talk with and are like cool enough with to take criticism from and to criticize, to find out like how well we actually did.
Right.
Like there aren't that many people who I feel I can ask, hey, how did I do? And they'll really be like, hey man, you did a good job, or this needs to get better, or whatever. There's not that many people who certainly almost nobody will just bring that up, at least in a civil manner. But even when I ask, a lot of people like are hesitant to really criticize. So I feel like it falls on just me to like internally criticize myself, or like we'll like sort of wrap it up afterwards. Sometimes
we always
like he and I we'll talk with each other about how it went, and we'll be like, I think it went well, but this could have been better, like but this could have been better, or like this was well done in particular. You know, we'll like sort of try to break it down. But you know, we're coming from our own individual inside perspective, so
Right.
I don't know that we're always accurate about it.
Yeah. I mean, the other interesting thing too, I mean, it's kind of like you said, right? I always feel like we did a good job doing commentary when no one talks about our commentary.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting, and it's not. I'm not saying like
that makes a lot of sense.
right. Because when you watch it, if it's good, if it works, you don't pay attention to it. It just feels like a natural part of the situation, right? It's when something is bad, it definitely sticks out, and you really need to say, like, you just can't help but want to say something about it. You know what I mean? So I'm not, you know, the fact that people don't like sit there in stream chat like this commentary is really good. Like the fact that they don't do that, I'm not sitting here like complaining like why don't you compliment? You know, why don't you compliment me? No, I totally get it. And so like if I actually don't see any negative stuff, then I feel like sometimes you'll check the NeoGAF threads and stuff like that.
Yeah, I typically try that. Yeah.
And if there's like no posts about us, then I'm like, yes.
Yep. Well, job well done. I mean, to be fair, I do the same thing with other stuff. Like,
oh yeah.
Like I rarely like give props to people who I think do good work. It's just I rarely think about it. But if somebody sucks, then I'll like. I don't know that I'll let them know, but like I'll talk about it.
Yeah,
I'll think about it more. So.
Yeah, I always talk about, you know, back to the whole sports analogy thing. Like I always tell the story of how at one point in time the Lakers coach was Mike Brown, and I hated that guy. I just thought he was the worst coach
There's
ever.
not a similarity between you because I watch MMA a lot. Every freaking minute of
that's
my
right,
life.
That's right.
So like I use their commentary and their blueprint for how they present like their product. And you think all about basketball.
Yeah.
Even back in the day, I remember you used to.
I mean, back when the Lakers were good, I used to watch them. Now it's hard. But I mean, when Mike Brown was their coach, there was just one time I was just watching it, and we played this horrible game, and I'm just like, God, I hate this guy. I wish he would die in a fire. And like, I was just like really violently, like aggressively mean towards him. And I was just like, God, you just do this, you know? Like when you see someone and you don't like what they do, that's just how it, like, they're not human to you. They're not a real person.
Yeah.
So you just want to say stuff like that to them, you know? Like you can talk about, because I've had plenty of times where there'll be threads where someone says something really mean about me, and I'll reply and be like, hey, I'm sorry.
That's the mistake.
Well, no, it's funny because when you do that, all of a sudden you're there, and then the people like who are the meanest were like, no, I didn't mean it that way. Like I really meant it kind of like this.
I mean, if that's how you see it, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Some places it happens, other places obviously not. But you know, for the most part, it's just when you're not human, it's like it's very easy to talk smack on people. So.
Yeah, it's easy to idolize. It's easy to talk smack. You know, if you don't think of the person as just being some person, they're just like a guy.
Dude,
just like doing something.
Even the opposite. Like we just did our 2015 awards, right? And we like named some people for certain things, and we got like a couple of replies from people. They're like, "Oh, I feel so like happy that you guys, you know, gave me one of the awards or whatever." And like I literally am just sitting here like, dude, I'm just this schmuck in the basement. Like I just made this list.
Literally.
Like who the like why does my word even mean anything? You know, so it's actually really interesting to me. You know, even from the opposite side, when someone does say something positive, it's like it's still hard for me to process that. You know what I mean?
I hear
it's
ya.
kind of weird.
So like earlier today, what is today? Today is Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Or something, and it's like
Yeah.
my only full day in SoCal. but I had like a really good 4-hour conversation with Alex Vai.
Oh, cool.
And one of the things that we talked about was like, what's the right word here? Giving players like credentials. Like for example, like we all know who the top 8 is. Like we might be able to predict who's top 8 in Wednesday night fights, right? But then like giving that middle tier, whoever those middle tier players are, like giving them a little bit like of a boost, you know, like your awards might have done that for certain players, and who knows, maybe they might improve as players, maybe they might put more time to the scene. However, like no matter what, like what you did was not a bad thing.
Yeah, well,
like, how dare you like me?
Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we do it, is because I do like to try to give props to other people as much as I can, because it's just, it's hard. It's hard for a lot of the people when you work as hard as they do, and I mean, like I said, when it comes to like tournaments and stuff like that, I feel like a lot of the times me and David have the easy job, right?
Yeah.
Because we just sit down and we talk about. I mean, dude, there's tournaments that we don't go to, and then he'll come over and we'll watch it, and it just sounds like we're commentating it anyway. Like we're just talking about it, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
So we're just talking about it. It's just you can't help it. Be like, oh, that was really interesting how he did this, blah blah blah. You know. But there's some of these guys who are behind the scenes, like like the Chris Seglias and stuff like that, who are just basically busting their ass like the entire event, and nobody's heard of these guys, and I think that sucks, you know. So I definitely like to call them out, even though I know Chris tries to stay behind it and stay hidden as much as possible.
I mean, for him, that's his own personal choice. But I mean, I definitely, I mean, not just like saying their name, have like a graphic there or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
I would love to do that. Yeah, that would
as
be
long
really
as they're
nice.
comfortable with it. But I think for the most part, people would be fine with it at least. You're not putting the social security out there. You're not talking about whatever what girls they like or something. It's just showing love for what they do.
Yeah. That would be really nice. That's something that not that many tournaments do, but it's always nice to see when they do it.
Yeah. That was sweet. Good answer, guys.